The issue of owning your own company is like raising a child. We were born big. You gotta crawl before you can walk, and you gotta walk before you can run. And all along the way, you have all these problems with falling and getting up and falling. And so success and failure and challenges. Where we're at today, 10 years later, the business starts to become a being of its own. It starts to operate on its own. It starts to think independently. And when you have systems in place, and you might have been crawling and then you're walking, and maybe you're tripping a little, but now you don't trip anymore, and now you're able to run. And it's just like owning a business and being an entrepreneur, starting it from scribbling on paper to get your LLC to having to get your books audited because you're so big that SBA requires it. Yeah, it's just like raising a kid. My name is David Beaver. I'm the CEO and owner of Titan Facility Services, LLC. I'm a member of the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska, and I also have ancestry with the St. Carlos Apache tribe and Gila River Indian community. Titan Facility Services came about in 2011, and before 2011, I was a consultant for a group out of Scottsdale that I was referred to by a gentleman that was basically at a conference at the Tamayao Resort over in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he came back and told me that there was a group out of Scottsdale looking for a Native American to join up with them and help them market to tribes in the federal contracting arena. After we started in 2011, that company that was a back office company ended up moving on its way, and Titan ended up with all the staff that was there, and then eventually hiring them to be our employees. So yeah, being in the right place at the right time, just by luck, and being referred to this company in Scottsdale is how it all got started. 2012, the Air Force had 52 hospitals that they were looking for services. Titan got its start over at the Naval Base in San Diego, and we were doing a subcontract there. Had about 42 employees there when we first started. As a result, the Air Force came out with this HAMS contract, and we ended up teaming up with a group out of New Jersey, and we ended up bidding on all the hospital sites nationwide. Turns out that we won five out of the 52 hospitals, and the company out of New Jersey ended up bowing out because it wasn't, a large enough contract for them. So the fact that, we didn't start with something small with 2 or 3 janitors, we started with 42. So we were, in a sense, in our industry, we call it being born big. Part of the Indian Incentive Program is a program set up by the Indian Finance Act. Indian Finance Act is an actual, legislation that allows federal agencies, not only the DoD, but allows them to set aside a 5% rebate for prime contractors that are doing business with Native American subcontractors. So the Indian Incentive Program, that's how we got our start. There was no motivation for the big business in Naval Medical Center to do business with Titan. The only motivation that was there was, guess what? We can bring in a 5% rebate. It's not as easy to get it. You got to wait 2 to 3 years to get paid. When you get into the weeds of it, there's a lot of regulations involved. It took us about 4 years to get paid off of Naval Medical Center, and everybody enjoyed the fruits of that. But during the process of applying for the HAMS contract, federal government came back. One of the questions was that, our teaming arrangement with the group out of New Jersey, we met all the qualifications, but they wanted to know about the financial capability of Titan Facility Services. One of the tools that the SBA has in evaluating a business is called a certificate of competency. That's an application process where they say, you got to show us that you are not only financially capable, but you're not tied to this large business, and this large business isn't actually running your business. We went through a certificate of competency, and passed. One of the key factors involved in it was my actual experience as a former healthcare administrator for not only the Omaha tribe of Nebraska, but the St. Carlos Apache tribe of Arizona. So not knowing that all that experience was going to someday pay off, it's crazy how it all works out, I came down to Arizona and went to work for the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development as their vice president, and got exposed to all the federal contracting, and that was part of what led me to where I am today. And who would have ever known that in a certificate of competency done by another federal agency, the SBA, that those years of working for the tribes was going to eventually pay off. It was going to pay off in a big way. So it's been rewarding from that perspective, because I've been able to not only help people at a tribal level, but also be able to use that experience and use it on a personal level in a entrepreneurial spirit. As a former, like I said, consultant who put together 80 applications, not only for individuals, but more so for tribes, I knew all the requirements of the 8A, and I've done the applications for tribal entities, so it wasn't nothing new for me. We had all the qualifications, we had all the expertise. We knew that the 8A program was something that, another arrow in our quiver, and we knew it was something that we were going to eventually go after, but we planned it and we waited. We waited for a new administration to get on board. It was 5 years ago, so that's when we decided to apply. I decided to apply for the 8A. And once we got certified, then the 80 opportunities opened for us. The importance of having the network is huge. You always keep those ties open, and you always, run things by people. And I think as small businesses, most small businesses are willing to help one another. So yeah, the networks that you form along the way, and the providers for small business, whether they be procurement technical assistance centers or MBDA funded centers, they're huge. They play a huge role in the marketplace. That was the value added service that was brought to me, and it was priceless. When COVID hit, the Air Force out of San Antonio sent an email out to all the Air Force bases nationwide and said, look, if you need extra COVID cleaning, we have 4 subject matter expert contractors that you guys need to get in touch with. So we were getting calls left and right that in the end we had to take a pass on. The issue of risk. With Titan, our main concern is our employees first, and safety first. But as it is today, we have 415 employees. So we are affecting the lives of 415 families from San Diego up to New Jersey down to Florida. We didn't lay off one employee. They are all kept busy during this past year through COVID. Titan has been there all along through the whole COVID process. Maybe 6 years ago, we started looking at this NABI activity that comes to Arizona. One team in particular is up from the Navajo Reservation that comes down to Phoenix every year. So every year, Titan provides some form of sponsorship. It's a cash donation. The kids write a letter, sign it, it's very official. I have another team from Fort Washakie in Wyoming, and we have no problem helping them out. And then one of the biggest sponsorships we do every year is with a group called Unity. And Unity is a group that focuses on Native American youth on reservation that are empowering themselves and their peers to try to help out local governments and to try to do things positive on the Indian reservations. Yeah, we're proud of that, and we'll continue to sponsor. Titan sees itself in 5 years in the base maintenance facility support services marketplace. We currently have an SBA approved joint venture with a company out of California in the base facility support services arena. And so we're using that joint venture right now to bid on some contracts, but we're also using that joint venture to present ourselves to tribes. If we can tie ourselves together with a tribe, the limits are, there are no limits. So, we've got, the systems are in place. So who knows, hopefully it might be shorter than 5 years that we get that done. As a business owner, you're pretty much working constantly. It never stops until you shut it down yourself. And I think part of the discipline that I have to get up every day was based on the self-drive that you learn from, sports. And that discipline came from, the sport of wrestling. I think that in the early days, when you learn that, your work ethic and how hard you work depends on how successful you're going to be. You either win, and if you win, you won it on your own. It wasn't your teammates, it was yourself. Or if you lose it on your own, and it wasn't your teammates, it was yourself. But all that, all that drive, I say, comes from self-discipline. Once the knowledge is acquired, you can use it across the board. regardless of what type of business it is. It's federal contract is a federal contract. You know, a federal bid is a federal bid. Whether you're women-owned, hub zone, Native American-owned, 8A, small business, you know, it's still, you know, the process to win them is still the same, and the process to fulfill them and do the work doesn't change, you know. So that's another important thing that I think you learn along the way, is that, you know, the work is the work and you have to perform if you want to be, you know, successful, just like anything else.